On October 13th, 1917, 70,000 people gathered in a field in rural Portugal in the rain. They had been told something was going to happen. Most of them did not believe it. Among them, journalists sent to report that nothing happened. Government officials there to discredit 3 children who had been embarrassing the secular republic with talk of visions. Scientists, atheists, people who had walked for hours in mud to watch nothing occur. What they witnessed was reported on the front page of every major Portuguese newspaper the following morning. This is the story of Fatima, not the version that fits in a pamphlet, the full version, with the angel that came first, the 6 apparitions, the 3 secrets, the interrogation, the imprisonment, and the moment in that field when 70,000 people saw something that nobody has ever fully explained. Stay with me, because the 3rd secret, the one sealed in an envelope for 40 years, opened by the Vatican in 2000, raises a question that no one has finished answering before the apparitions, who the 3 children were, because this matters. Lucia dos Santos is 10 years old. She is the oldest, the one who speaks to the apparition, the one whose testimony will be studied by theologians for the next 100 years. Francisco Marto is 9. His sister Jacinta is 7. Francisco and Jacinta are Lucia's cousins. All 3 are from Aljustrel, a small hamlet outside Fatima in central Portugal. Their families are poor. They tend sheep in the fields above the village. They are not educated. They are not religiously remarkable. They are children doing what children in their situation did. This matters because it is precisely what makes what follows impossible to explain away. In 1916, a full year before Our Lady appears, the 3 children receive 3 visits from a figure they will later describe as an angel. These visits are not widely known. They are not on the Fatima postcards. They are not in the basic catechesis. And they are, in many ways, the most theologically dense part of the entire Fatima story. First visit. Spring 1916. The children are sheltering from rain in a small cave on the Loca do Cabeço hillside when a figure appears. A young man, transparent, more brilliant than crystal, beautiful beyond anything human, moving through the air toward them. He says, "Do not be afraid. I am the angel of peace. Pray with me." He kneels, touches his forehead to the ground, and says a prayer 3 times. Then he disappears. Second visit. Summer 1916. He appears again while the children are playing at Lucia's family well. He tells them to pray. He tells them that the hearts of Jesus and Mary are attentive to their supplications. He leaves. Later, Lucia will say that the peace and joy he left behind lasted for days and made ordinary things feel impossibly empty by comparison. Third visit. Autumn 1916. The angel appears holding a chalice with a host above it. Drops of blood fall from the host into the chalice. He leaves the chalice suspended in the air, prostrates himself beside the children, and says a prayer of reparation 3 times. He then gives them communion. The host to Lucia, the contents of the chalice to Francisco and Jacinta. Francisco and Jacinta have not yet received First Communion. They receive it here, from an angel, in a field, alone. The angel's prayers were recorded by Lucia in her memoirs, written under obedience to her bishop decades later. Their theological content was reviewed by Vatican theologians and found to be doctrinally precise. Language a 10-year-old shepherd girl from rural Portugal in 1916 had no mechanism to produce from her own formation. The angel came before Our Lady. Most people who know Fatima have never heard of him. If this is already telling you something you did not know, subscribe right now. Drop in the comments. Had you heard of the Angel of Peace before today? I read every single comment. The 6 apparitions. May to October 1917. May 13th, 1917. The first apparition. The children are tending their sheep in the Cova da Iria, a natural hollow in a field belonging to Lucia's family, when a flash of light crosses the clear sky. They move toward a small holm oak tree. Above it, a woman stands in light. She is young. They will later say younger than any adult they know, perhaps 16 or 17, though ageless. She is clothed in white with gold trim, holding a rosary. She asks them not to be afraid. She asks if they are willing to offer themselves to God and to bear all the sufferings He wishes to send them, as an act of reparation for the sins by which He is offended and for the conversion of sinners. Lucia answers yes. The woman tells them to pray the rosary every day to bring peace to the world and an end to the war. Then she rises toward the east and disappears. Lucia does not want to tell anyone. She knows what it will mean. She tells Jacinta not to say anything. Jacinta promises. That evening, Jacinta tells her mother. June 13th, 1917. The second apparition. About 50 people come to watch. They see and hear nothing. The children kneel at the oak tree, fall into what witnesses describe as a kind of ecstasy, and converse with something invisible to everyone else. When it ends, Lucia reports that Our Lady has said Francisco and Jacinta will be taken to heaven soon. Lucia will remain longer, because she has a mission. She does not yet know what that mission is. July 13th, 1917. The third apparition. The 3 secrets. This is the apparition that changes everything. Several thousand people are now present. Our Lady shows the children a vision so terrifying that Jacinta, 7 years old, will wake screaming from nightmares about it for the rest of her short life. She gives them 3 secrets. The first secret. A vision of hell. The children are shown a sea of fire in which demons and human souls are immersed, shrieking and groaning in despair. Lucia will later write that if Our Lady had not promised to take them to heaven, she believes they would have died of terror on the spot. The second secret. A prophecy. Our Lady tells them the First World War will end, but that if men do not stop offending God, another worse war will begin during the next pontificate. She gives a sign, a night illuminated by an unknown light. She says Russia will spread its errors throughout the world, causing wars and persecutions of the Church. She asks for the consecration of Russia to her Immaculate Heart and for the communion of reparation on the first Saturday of each month. She promises that Russia will be converted and a period of peace will be granted to the world. The third secret, not revealed publicly. Lucia writes it down in January 1944, seals it, and instructs that it be opened no sooner than 1960, when it will become clearer. It is not opened in 1960. It is held in the Vatican for another 40 years. The night illuminated by an unknown light, the sign preceding the Second War, occurred on January 25th to 26th, 1938. It was an unprecedented aurora borealis visible across Europe, including in places where such phenomena had never been observed. Lucia, by then a nun in Spain, recognized it immediately. 6 weeks later, Hitler marched into Austria. August 1917. The fourth apparition. After the arrest. The children never arrive at the Cova da Iria for the August apparition. The civil administrator of Aurem, Artur de Oliveira Santos, an atheist and Freemason who has decided the Fatima affair is a threat to the secular republic, arrests them on August 13th under the pretext of taking them to meet the bishop. He takes them to his office and interrogates them for hours. He tells them he will have them boiled alive in oil unless they reveal the secrets. Francisco and Jacinta believe him. They do not reveal the secrets. He releases them on August 15th. Our Lady appears to them 4 days later in a different location, explains she had wanted them at the cova, and continues her visits. They were children, ages 7, 9, and 10. He threatened to boil them alive. They said nothing. September 13th, 1917, the fifth apparition. Around 30,000 people are now present. Multiple witnesses report seeing a globe of light move through the sky from east to west before the apparition begins. Some report seeing a white cloud descend and rest on the oak tree. The children enter their ecstasy. Our Lady tells them she will perform a miracle in October so that everyone will believe. She asks them to continue praying the rosary. October 13th, 1917, the miracle of the sun. 70,000 people, rain, mud. The Portuguese secular press has announced that nothing will happen and has sent correspondents specifically to document the failure of what they have been calling superstition and collective hysteria. At approximately 1:30 in the afternoon, the rain stops. Lucia tells the crowd to look at the sun. The clouds part. And what 70,000 people report seeing is this. The sun appears as a spinning silver disk in the sky. Not painful to look at, spinning rapidly, throwing off light in every direction in colors that sweep across the crowd, the landscape, the clouds. Then it stops, and then it plunges toward the earth. People in the crowd believe they are going to die. Some fall to their knees. Some confess their sins aloud. Some are weeping. The disc stops before impact, returns to its place. The entire sequence lasts approximately 12 minutes. The correspondents sent to report the failure file their reports. The secular newspaper O Seculo, whose editor had been among the most vocal critics of the Fatima affair, publishes a front-page account. The headline describes the event as miraculous. The ground, which had been soaked from hours of rain, is completely dry. The clothing of the crowd, drenched minutes before, is completely dry. The miracle of the sun was observed not only from the Cova da Iria, but from locations up to 40 kilometers away, by people who had no knowledge of what was occurring in the field. It was reported independently by witnesses who were not present at the apparition site and could not have been primed by crowd psychology. The Vatican Commission that investigated Fatima cited this geographic spread as one of the most significant evidential factors. 70,000 witnesses, front-page coverage by journalists sent to debunk it, and we still have not opened the third secret. Subscribe if you have not already, and tell me in the comments, did you know about the angel or the arrest? What part of this surprised you most? After Fatima, what really happened? Francisco and Jacinta, 1918 to 1920. Our Lady had told Lucia in June 1917 that Francisco and Jacinta would be taken to heaven soon. In 1918, the Spanish flu reaches Portugal. Both children contract it. Francisco dies on April 4th, 1919. He is 10 years old. Jacinta dies on February 20th, 1920, in a Lisbon hospital, alone. All the nuns and nurses had been forbidden by Jacinta herself to stay with her during her final hours because she did not want them exposed to her illness. She is 9 years old. Both were beatified by Pope John Paul II in 2000 and canonized by Pope Francis in 2017, the youngest non-martyred saints in the history of the Church. Lucia, 1921 to 2005. Lucia enters religious life, first as a Dorothean sister, later as a Carmelite nun. She lives in contemplative enclosure for most of her adult life. She writes 4 memoirs under obedience to her bishop, the primary historical sources for the Fatima apparitions. She corresponds with popes. She receives private audiences with John Paul II. She dies on February 13, 2005, the day before Valentine's Day, and 2 months before the date John Paul II will later die. She is 97 years old. The Third Secret. 1944 to 2000. Lucia writes The Third Secret in January 1944, seals it, instructs it be opened no earlier than 1960. Pope John XXIII reads it in 1960 and decides not to publish it. Pope Paul VI reads it. Popes John Paul I and John Paul II read it. On May 13, 2000, the 83rd anniversary of the first apparition, Cardinal Sodano announces that the Third Secret will be released. The Vatican publishes it on June 26, 2000. The Third Secret, as published, describes a vision. A bishop dressed in white. We had the impression it was the Holy Father, walking through a half-ruined city, praying for the souls of the dead, and being killed by soldiers with bullets and arrows at the foot of a large cross. Other bishops, priests, and laypeople are killed with him. 2 angels collect the blood of the martyrs and carry it to God. The Vatican's interpretation. The vision refers to the assassination attempt on Pope John Paul II on May 13, 1981, the Feast of Fatima, in St. Peter's Square. The Pope himself believed this. He donated the bullet removed from his body to the shrine at Fatima, where it was set into the crown of the statue of Our Lady. The date of the attempt, May 13th, the year 1981. The feast, Our Lady of Fatima. He survived. He attributed his survival to her intercession. 3 truths that Fatima leaves open. Truth 1. The requests have not been fully answered. Our Lady asked for the daily rosary, the first Saturday devotions, and the consecration of Russia to her Immaculate Heart. The consecration has been performed by Pius XII in 1942, by John Paul II in 1984, by Francis in 2022. Whether any of these consecrations fully met the specific conditions Our Lady described remains a point of serious theological debate. The conversion of Russia, she promised, has not, by any observable measure, occurred in the way the message describes. The requests remain open. Truth 2. The Third Secret may not be fully published. Multiple theologians, and at least 2 former Vatican officials, have argued that what was published in 2000 does not constitute the complete text of the Third Secret, that there is a second part, a written message accompanying the vision, that has not been released. Cardinal Chiappi, papal theologian to 5 popes, stated before his death that the Third Secret reveals a great apostasy beginning at the top of the Church. That language does not appear in the published text. The question has never been definitively closed. Truth 3. The message is addressed to now. The Second Secret was given in 1917. Its prophecy has unfolded: a Second World War, the spread of Russia's errors, decades of persecution of the Church. What follows in the same message is the promise: Russia will be converted. A period of peace will be granted. That part has not happened yet. Fatima is not a historical event that ended in 1917. It is a message with an open horizon, a prophecy that is still in motion, addressed to the world that is reading it right now. Jacinta Marto, died alone in a Lisbon hospital at 9 years old. Before she died, she said this: "The sins that lead most souls to hell are sins of the flesh. Fashions will come that will offend our Lord very much. More souls go to hell for sins of the flesh than for any other reason." She was 9 years old. She had been a shepherd. She had never left Portugal. She had seen what she had seen, and she said what she had been shown, and then she died in a room by herself so that the nurses would not get sick. What do you do with that? You pray the rosary. That is the answer she already gave you. Not because it is a magic formula, because it is the specific thing that was asked for by a woman who appeared in light above a field in Portugal and whose message has been unfolding across a century with a precision that is difficult to attribute to coincidence. Subscribe. Share this with one person who carries Fatima in their heart and has never heard all of it. And in the comments, tell me, which part of this story do you think the world most needs to hear right now? Our Lady of Fatima, pray for us.